¿Qué pasa, mis amigos out there in el mundo del internet? We are here once again to kick it old school on the virtual co-op couch that we like to call home. We are your split screen cynics, and we're back for another fun-filled episode of video games, banter, and tangents. Some news split in, we'll put some news in there just for just for the hell of it, because we like to talk about the news, and also people like to know what's going on in the video game world, and we like to give our 2 cents. So if you don't like to hear it, tough. We're going to give it to you. My name is Berto. I am one of your three cynics. I am the least cynical of the bunch, and I will introduce in descending order or increasing order of cynicism to I'm looking at my screen. He's on my right. I would look over, but it's a static picture of me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's a static picture of me. Just imagine my head is turning to the right. Garrett, how are you?
I'm good. I am good. I got nothing. I don't know. I have a tremendous amount of coconut water that I've been drinking because I'm sweating so bad. So otherwise good. E3, I don't know. That's exciting. I've been seeing a lot of that stuff. So
hell yeah, E3 is the way to go. And also stay hydrated. And to my left, the most cynical of the bunch, our boy Tim. Tim, how are you?
I'm actually good. You're catching me in the final few minutes of the window of joy that I get after winning a CS match. So for the next minute or so, I'll be pretty happy. So this is me happy
before the crippling anxiety.
Before the crippling anxiety is, and
it's already creeping back in.
Listeners, you were on an exclusive piece of content right there. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we start actually getting into the show. Like I said, we are your split screen cynics. You can find us pretty much on any podcasting platform out there. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher. Look for us, Split Screen Cynics, on pretty much any one of those. Subscribe, comment, hit that like button. What do these influencers say about all the other stuff? They the kids
Blast
say
it.
other things, don't they?
Blast it on things.
Blast
Something.
it, it's lit.
I don't know. Whatever, who cares?
I would dab, but you can't see my picture dabbing, so just imagine my picture dabbed.
We'll edit that in.
We'll edit the picture dabbing. So with that, we're gonna jump right into it because we like to keep this train a rolling. We're gonna jump into our first segment, which is our "What You Playing" segment. So Garrett, what you playing?
Ooh, lots of stuff. I kind of kicked back into Twitch. I actually have a bit of a schedule and stuff now, so I've been playing a lot on that. I did finish Sekiro and then immediately start NG Plus, and I'm at the last boss on NG Plus, trying for a different ending. So that's exciting. Tim, have you finished Sekiro?
I have not finished it.
Oh.
I haven't played it since we last talked about it.
Okay. I know exactly where you are in the game.
I'll get to it.
Okay, you're kind of close. Well, it depends on the ending, I guess. But I don't know all the endings, so...
Probably getting a bad ending.
Yeah.
I guess.
Who knows? I mean, it's funny because on the NG Plus part of it, I actually discovered 2 new areas that I completely missed with 2 new bosses that I'm not sure if they're based on endings or not. But I don't know, I'm working through it. So that game's amazing. It's probably my game of the year so far.
Really?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. I can't name any other ones. I mean, Anthem's up there, definitely.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, are you kidding me?
Anthem.
Anthem already has got Game of the Year locked down.
Game of the decade.
Game of the millennium.
Snuck into the teens just to steal the game of the decade. Lord.
I did jump in a little bit of Dauntless, basically with you dudes, which is kind of cool. I'm definitely, I would play it more if other people were playing it, but I don't know if it 100% captured my attention. Me and Tim played a little more when we did, and it got a little more difficult, and it started feeling more Monster Hunter-y, and I was kind of into that. So might go into that going forward. But then I also started streaming Days Gone on recommendation. Not exactly my normal type of game.
I was about to say, that's a game that I would not have pegged you for.
I did a poll in stream, and my buddy Marino basically used a VPN to vote 8 times from his computer. So he won the poll.
So Marino wants you to play Days Gone.
Yeah, it was on sale at the Days of Play PlayStation or whatever. So I started that. Probably a couple hours in. I'm interested, definitely, but I don't know. It's I could just tell it's that open world kind of thing going on, which is not usually my favorite kind of genre there.
Now, how are not the graphics, but like the gameplay? Because when that game came out, a lot of people were saying that like, oh, the story's really cool once you get past like all the technical hiccups.
So initial impressions on Days Gone, the beginning is miserable. It's just cutscene, play for 2 seconds, cutscene, play for 2 seconds for like 2 hours.
Oh, geez.
So the beginning's rough, which tutorials can be. And the game looks pretty amazing. Like all the foliage is animated and stuff. A lot of times too much. Like it's just really windy all the time. And I do know they could show a whole bunch of zombies on screen at a time. I haven't ran into that many, to be honest. So, you know, it looks pretty good. There's definitely some bugs, which is actually kind of good. Like it kind of adds to the fun. I got my motorcycle stuck just standing up yesterday.
I've definitely seen some of those videos where because sometimes those bug videos are quite hilarious. I saw a video where someone was playing and he gets like on his motorcycle and all of a sudden a like swarm of zombies, or what do they call it, lurkers or whatever the fuck they're called in the game,
or something.
They just spawn out of nowhere like an entire herd, and he just gets overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's funny because I think the bugs and the issues are gonna be what make it fun to stream for me. Because I don't know, it's just like funny stuff. Like I shot a guy in the head with a crossbow bolt. It didn't do anything, and then later when I was fighting him, like it was just in his head. Like I was like, shouldn't
it would have been even better if after you were fighting him, he just dropped dead. Like I got hit with a bolt.
Like I got close to him and he was just like, oh, my head. So it's I don't know, it's kind of goofy. If I had to guess, it's a nice concept that just kind of didn't quite come together. But we'll see, because a lot of people that have told me about it say it starts kind of rough and it builds up to something. So, other than that, what I've been playing, I don't know, some other stuff. Hearthstone more. I don't know why. I'm stuck on that.
You're addicted.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nice though, because I'm addicted in like I play for an hour a day kind of way, which is like
it's exactly what
it's
an
like
addict
a light
would say.
addiction. You know what I mean? Like I can stop anytime I want.
I can quit whenever I want.
Moving topics. Tim, what have you been playing?
I aside from which I always talk about, Counter-Strike, which takes up 80% of my free time. I've been squeezing some other games into the 20%. I finished the first Danganronpa game. I believe I talked about that on the last What You Playing segment. Really enjoyed it. Pretty, it's a linear visual novel, and it can get a little full of itself with like this plot and stuff, but it's just, it's essentially a page turner in video game form. It's just, you kept wanting to see what's going to happen in the story next. Ending was, I'd say, a little bit weak, but it still was good enough, and I enjoyed it. So I played the second one. So
how many of those are there?
There are 3 in like the main series, and I think there's like a spin-off game that's like an action game that who knows. But I'm planning on playing the third one at some point. I think I want to give myself a little bit of a break. I'd say the second one was a little bit better than the first one, but you really don't want to play it before you play the first one. It's a very narrative heavy game. But if you're into solving mysteries and trying to if you played Phoenix Wright or the Zero Escape games and you want something that's kind of a combination of the two, then I could not recommend them more. Just totally fun. I have, all the music stuck in my head. I've got, like it's one of those things that you fall asleep and you're just like thinking about like, oh wow, that was crazy.
How long are they? Are they like crazy long?
They're probably like 15 to 20 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was expecting like 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a nice meaty game.
No, they're long. It's the kind of game that I would love to play with someone else just for like experiencing the story together, but it's so much text, so it's not really designed for that. But yeah, it would definitely recommend those games. I started playing Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is a remake of the second Yakuza game. I started playing that with our friend Tom Garrett, and it was fun. It was funny. Like we started it out, and Tom was kind of into it, and I left my PS4 at his house for a week, and then I came and hung out with him the next weekend, and he had fully maxed out every single stat and made no progress in the story of the game, like intentionally, and just fully had like
Was just
like
grinding.
we're as powerful as possible.
Oh,
So
that's
the rest
funny.
of the game is going to be kind of trivial, but I'm glad that he like that definitely hit his itch, and I'm happy because it's those games are great, a lot of fun. So that's another good game. I'm gonna have to finish it one of these days. And I also got a little bit. I got a chance to play this game called This War of Mine. It was released in 2014. I was playing it on Parsec with another person that me and you know, Garrett, Mubby, an old Counter-Strike friend of mine, and it is essentially a how do I describe it? It's like you control a few people who are living in like a war-torn society, and during the day you have to like repair your house and like try and make do and like make food and do what you need to do to survive, and then at night you have to go scavenge for equipment. And it has like a side scroller point and click kind of vibe. It's pretty unique, I'd say, in the way it plays. And it's all about managing like your party, your people. I don't know too much about the game because I only played it for a couple hours, but the game loop is pretty interesting in that like during the day you're trying to be as efficient as possible while still having to deal with the fact that your people are hungry, they're tired, they could be wounded, and then at night you have to try and sneak around and get as much equipment as you can carry and bring it back and make do with it. And apparently it's just going to get worse and worse because it's still sunny skies, but it's not going to be that forever. And,
does it have like a kind of roguelike thing where essentially if you die you just start from the beginning, or is it?
I think so. There's no saving, and like you can say like it'll save your progress automatically each day, but like there's no like saving and loading. And if one of your people dies, they're dead, and it is somewhat randomized each time as to what you get, because I was playing it with Mubby and he'd already played some of it, and some of the stuff that happened was different. But it's an interesting take. Like I haven't really played a lot of games like this. It has a kind of unique, like the game loop is kind of familiar. There's like crafting involved. There's the whole like looting and trying to get as much stuff as you can so you can survive. But other than that, it's a pretty interesting setting that it almost seems like it wanted to be like a zombie survival game, or like it built it with that as the framework, but instead of zombies it's just like bandits and other people trying to survive in a war-torn probably Eastern European country. It's kind of the vibe it seems to be sending, but it's cool.
That one sounds dope, actually. Yeah,
that sounds
this War of Mine, it's called.
This War of Mine, yeah.
It sounded familiar when you said it.
I'd never heard of it.
Huh.
So,
well, I must have seen something a while back when it came out. Anything else you've been playing?
Nope.
Berto, what have you been
playing?
What about you, Berto? Oh, damn it, Tim! You stole my.
My turn.
I wanted to facilitate.
No, it goes me to you, then you to Tim, then Tim to me.
Yeah. Well, I always like throw in. I always like just ballpark it to.
So what about you, Berto?
Oh, come on!
What have you been playing?
Well, thank you for asking, Tim. I've been playing. I've just been playing two things really in my spare time. Garrett, you mentioned earlier when you were playing Dauntless, you jumped on.
I did play that as well. I forgot.
And then we jumped on and started playing Dauntless. I got into that because I needed something to sort of scratch that Monster Hunter itch. Something to just hold me over until the fall when the Iceborne expansion or DLC comes out. So I just needed that style of game. And, like you were just saying before, like when you first start playing Dauntless, it seems like very simple baby's first Monster Hunter. It's like take the concept of Monster Hunter and make it as simple as you possibly can. And that's kind of like what Dauntless is. But then once the game really opens up and you have like more hunts and more patrols available to you and there's more behemoths, that's when it starts getting a little bit more challenging, because you start noticing that you have to start fighting the behemoths in a certain way. They have certain patterns that you kind of have to exploit. And then once you start getting better weapons and upgrading the existing weapons you have, you notice that, there is actually a little bit more of a strategy element to this game that it first leads you to believe. For example, I started using the war pike. Much to my chagrin, I tried to get away from like large, sticky, pointy weapons, and I ended up with the war pike anyway. And that's not really sort of a weapon that you would use if you're just fighting behemoths solo. The war pike to get the most use out of the war pike and make it really beneficial, you kind of have to be part of a team because it specializes in like wounding and cutting the behemoths actually to make the parts easier to break. Versus something like a sword, which is sort of like your all-around weapon, where if you're the only person who has a sword, you can kind of hold your own, and then other weapons like I think the chain blades, where you're very like it's very quick, it lends itself to like very quick in and out type movements, which again not going to do a lot of damage. So you want to be part of a team. So then you start noticing that there's that element to it.
Yeah, I even just playing with Tim, I started noticing like a little bit of like the hammer, because I picked the hammer or whatever, and like the roll of the hammer seemed to be about stunning, and I assume hitting the face was part of that. I know that's a very Monster Hunter thought, so I'm not sure. But even just I was just looking at the controls and I was like, wait, what's that about? Because there was stuff listed that just didn't make sense. And then there's actually a weird thing with the hammer where every hit you do, you can apply like a charge to. Yeah. And then you can auto reload after every hit. So it's a weird like rhythm thing.
And that's one of those things that like I didn't realize until afterwards either, because when I was like, after I'd upgraded, I have a couple of different war pikes. Obviously, like one of the other things you notice is that you're not tied to one particular weapon in this game. You kind of have to shuffle back and forth between weapons depending on the behemoth you fight. So one of the war pikes that I'm using now currently, like I'd been like fighting this behemoth and it has this gauge that sort of fills up. And I was like, what the fuck does that gauge do? And just like you said, when I looked in the move list, I'm like, oh wait, hold on. There's this whole other section here where it's like, if you hit the right bumper, that gauge that you fill up, it kind of stocks that gauge and turns it into ammo that you then use like you can shoot a concussive blast at the behemoth that stuns them. And I was like, I need to read more because I didn't know I could do that.
That was sort of the moment where I was like, oh, this game definitely has some heft to it, because that's very Monster Hunter. Yeah. And I mean that in a good way. I think Monster Hunter's design is pretty tight. Where Monster Hunter literally like, people who are new to it, I'm like, okay, go on YouTube and watch a tutorial of your weapon, because there's going to be weird stuff that like
there's going to be shit that you don't even realize. And like case in point with the war pike, I'm like, oh, that's what that does. I didn't know I could shoot a concussive blast, and that's been super helpful in a bunch of fights where I forget what this behemoth is. It's called, what is it, like the Skarn, the big owl looking thing?
Oh yeah.
And when it starts flying around in one of its attacks, I can shoot a concussive blast at it while it's flying, and it like just floors it, and then you can just go to town. And I'm like, dope. If I didn't read, I wouldn't have known that.
It does help to read out there.
Yeah,
listener.
reading is fundamental, you guys. If you're listening to this, go out and read a book. Books are fun.
YouTube video and do the tutorial, and someone will tell you instead.
Didn't we just tell them reading is important? You're undermining our message.
I said the YouTube thing before. Watch us on YouTube.
Actually, yeah, watch us on YouTube.
Like, subscribe, also. Whatever. There's no video. It's just this.
Hit that like button. Watch us on YouTube. Leave a comment. So that's Dauntless. I really want to put some more time into it, because I'm actually having a lot of fun with it now that I'm getting deeper into the patrols and the hunts, and you have more behemoths.
We can party up, baby.
Hell yeah. My criticisms of the game from when we first talked about it still stand, though. Outside of the behemoths, the worlds feel very lifeless.
For sure.
Like, there's nothing there. You're there, and it's like, all right, you got 25 minutes of fuel left. Go find that behemoth. And there's absolutely nothing in the world besides the behemoth. So it's like, why even give it a world at that point? At that point, why not just make an arena and you just fight the behemoth in an arena or something? That, and I hope that in a future patch, they add in some kind of mechanic to find the behemoth, because stumbling around, like essentially blind until somebody finds the behemoth and shoots a flare, that's the only real way that you get a tip off as to, oh, the behemoth's over in that direction. Otherwise, you're kind of just running around and hoping you find them.
Yeah, and there's not like other stuff really to make that matter. You're really just like, you all just go in a different direction. It's like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you guys, like the four of you land, and it's like, and scatter. So, those things, I hope they change that. and it's just small little quality of life things. So when they make those changes, make the world a little bit more like full of life, not lifelike, because I don't want it lifelike. I want to get away from life, but that's why I play these video games. But make it feel a little bit more alive, and also give me some kind of compass or something. Aside from Dauntless, I've also been playing Void Bastards, which is really fun. I've been hearing a lot about the game. It released, I think, like May 29th or May 30th, so it's been out for some time now. It's like a first-person shooter. It's got roguelike elements. The runs are totally randomized. Unlike most roguelikes where the dungeons are like randomly generated, I think the ships are all pretty much the same, and the layouts vary slightly. And how they change that element is the grid that you like move around, because the way it is you start off on one ship, and then you got a couple of different avenues available to you. You could either go up, down, or right, and then from there it sort of like branches out into like the whole grid layout. The ships themselves are randomized in that, you never start in the same ship or go between, from one ship to the next in like the same run. I'm doing a shitty job of explaining this, but essentially what I'm saying is that they take the grid and they take like all the ships available and kind of shake it up and then just throw them on the grid.
Interesting.
So that's like the random element. And obviously your character that you start off with is randomized. Sometimes they have like buffs, or sometimes they're debuffed. The humor in the game is really funny. So like, because you're essentially a prisoner. You're a convict, and they're using you to like explore this void. And they give like the little flavor text for each of the criminals is really funny. Sometimes they're like, they have this one guy that I was playing, and it's like crime, aesthetically unpleasing, and I'm like, did they just say this guy like his crime is just being ugly?
He's just ugly.
I'm like, damn, that's harsh. Oh, and also one of my characters was named Emma Watson.
Oh, wow.
I was like, all right, Hermione Granger. I'm like,
I'm a fan.
Like,
She's cool.
Are they allowed to do this?
I loved her in Beauty and the Beast.
Now she was even better in Void Bastards for the 2 levels that I had her for, and then ended up dying. No, but really fun. It has some like BioShock type vibes to it, because some of the ships that you go into definitely feel a little like creepy because the lights are out sometimes, and it gives you that sort of alone like feeling. So I'm digging that. Digging the visuals. It's very like comic book visuals, which I'm totally a sucker for. Any game that has like these comic book kind of stylings, I will play absolutely, just from an art perspective, because I love that art style.
Yeah, to me, and just from little screenshots and stuff, it had like a Killer 7 kind of vibe, like that cell shaded, like kind of very stylized comic booky thing, which looked cool. But if that sounds cool to any listeners out there, I think we agreed that is going to be our next Game Club game.
Yeah.
So, what do we give it? 2 weeks? Do we give it a month? What do you think, Berto?
I'd say give them a month, just because I know like people don't always have time to play games, if they got lives like we do, because we're adults and shit. They gotta
really
speak for yourself.
Of my free time is playing video games. I came to that realization recently. It's pretty
well, but see, here's the thing. You play video games on a team professionally. We
not professionally,
semi-professionally,
not even close. But thank you for making me feel better. But that's the thing. Even when I'm not, I'm like, I have free time to play the video games that I want to play.
Oh, nice.
It's like
so
non-productive, but
well, either way, that's going to be our next Game Club game. So we're all going to start playing that. Berto's got a little head start. For those of you unfamiliar with Game Club, basically we name the game. We're all going to play it. We're going to do a full episode on it. And hopefully if you guys play it or have played it or are just interested, you might be featured on the podcast. You can always ask us questions about it, et cetera, et cetera. So look for that probably 2 podcasts from now. But who knows? Maybe if we grind on it doesn't seem like that long of a game, we could do it on the next episode. But expect about a month for that. Yeah, that should be fun. I'm excited. Sounds pretty cool, Berto.
Yeah,
so.
It's definitely. I've been having loads of fun with it. One of my runs, one of the dudes I got was like super short, so I always had to like look up to open doors.
Oh wait, that's I don't know why, but that seems so clever to me, even though it shouldn't
It's super
be.
fun. I was like running around, and I'm like, this has shades of Odd Job written all over it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I'm excited.
And that is about all I'm playing. So I think we can move on to our next segment,
Let's
which
do
is our
cynical spin.
our cynical spin.
Do
Let's
some
do it.
news. Why not?
All right, cynical spin. Let us talk about Google Stadia. I know people have talked about this already, but you know what? This is when we record our podcast, so we're just talking about it now. Deal with it. So Google Stadia, you guys might remember back in March of this year at GDC in San Francisco, they announced this cool new streaming service that's going to be Google Stadia, and this is what, Garrett, you were on the beta for when you were playing Assassin's Creed. What was it? Odyssey, Greek one.
Yes, Odyssey. Ugh, don't remind me. That game stunk.
So all of that stuff that you were doing, all the information was going right back to Google so that they could perfect their next step towards world domination. That is Google Stadia. You know, eventually streaming is going to be the future of video games. And I think Google have the pockets to do something like this. They focused a lot on sort of like the message of what it's going to cost. I think the bulk of it was spent like, here's how it works. And then they started hitting the price point, which is, I think, the right message at this stage. The Founders Edition, which if you want to play Google Stadia this year, and I think it's November of 2019 when it comes out, you have to buy the Founders Edition, which is like $130. And that comes with the controller. It comes with the Chromecast Ultra. It comes with Destiny 2 and the new Shadowkeep expansion. You get a 3-month subscription to their premium service and also a 3-month buddy pass that you can give to a friend. To me, I think this is like the right message at this stage, because right now, obviously, you don't have like any good exclusives in Google Stadia. I'm sorry, but what is it? Guilt is not. I don't know what that game is, and that's a Stadia exclusive. You're not going to sell me on Guilt. What you're going to sell me on with Google Stadia is this price point, and also the fact that if you want to get out of the traditional console upgrade life cycle, where after a couple of years you're going to have to shell out $400, $500 for a new console, this is like the perfect way to do it. All you need is an internet connection and a browser that like a Chrome browser, and you can stream games, because even the regular service, which you're going to have to wait until 2024, like that's all you need to play games.
So I'm going to jump in just for
go for it.
The little games point. So I think the base version, the subscription's like $10 a month. Sounds cool. That's nice. But apparently new games you will have to purchase for full price. And to just jump straight into my opinion, that's a bit of a sour point for me. I think you're going to have a lot of trouble selling that to most people. I'm sure you're going to have some adopters going for that, who are, not interested in buying a game console, maybe for room purpose or, something like that, going to college or something like that. The issue is those people also need an extremely steady internet connection. I believe they said the minimum for 1080p 60 frames was going to be like it was either 10 or 15 download speed, which I think you guys have, but apparently a large part of America does not have, as well as in other countries. So I think this was an interesting thing. People definitely wanted to know this information. The fact that something like Destiny is going to be on it, that's pretty cool. The fact that there's crossplay on it is awesome. I think that not releasing this to the public right away is an issue. I don't like the idea of being like, you have to have a Founders Edition to play in 2019, and then in the future, other people will be able to play. I think that's actually like a big issue in the marketing, because like that's going to turn a lot of people off, I think. Obviously, we're going to have some early adopters. Like, I'm considering it because I did have a pretty pleasant experience with the test. But like, the wow factor for me was that I could open up a Chrome window and play. Not that I could plug in a Chromecast Ultra and use their controller to play.
Right.
I was using a PS4 controller in a Chrome window on a baby laptop, and it was working seamlessly. Like, that to me is a much better selling point. Obviously, this kind of reads almost like a sort of weirdly open beta. but I don't know. It's a tough sell. I played it. The input lag was crazy, not there. I was very impressed with it. I think the internet as a whole is very skeptical. So to kind of block out the release like this, I think is not really selling the service correctly.
It's weird because they already had, like, obviously the Assassin's Creed thing, that was sort of like their beta to see the proof and concept, would this work? But you actually bring up a good point where they're sort of like gating this, like it's a gated release essentially, because you have to buy the Founders Edition. And as much as I like the pricing point, I think this is the right price for something like this. I do agree with you that if you want to get into this now, you have to shell out $130. It seems to me like that's sort of another, maybe like a second beta for them, where they're like, listen, we know not everyone's going to jump in right now. We're only going to get the hardcore fans and like the early adopters. This is going to give us another round of data to see just how well this works.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, in a way, it makes sense. Like, some people might want to play Destiny, you know, with buddies who have an Xbox. So if the cross-platform works, that'll be cool. But I don't know. I think it's hard to get people who are already skeptical about the performance issues with this, to be willing to shell out money for it. Tim, what do you think about, like, do you think this is appropriately priced? Do you think it's an issue?
I don't know. I can't really get into the pricing thing because in terms of a service for myself, like, it's so far away from even being a thing. You know, it's not designed for people like us who already have, you know, like a good gaming rig, who kind of are already inundated with. I mean, I'm saying it's like PC related things because even though the games might not necessarily be PC games, you know, that's kind of my yardstick. It's like, okay, are you willing to build a full gaming PC? Okay, you're willing to shell out the money for a big gaming setup. And so it's in terms of money, it's unclear. I could see a market for it if, like you said, your internet is good enough and, you know, you're able to get this lossless gameplay. And I mean, even though this is a little off topic, I use Parsec, that program that I talked about, for hosting essentially as if you were playing couch co-op over the internet. And I've experienced that and what that can do, and that's much lower tech, and that's running a server off my own computer or someone else's computer. And seeing how close to lossless that can be, I can only imagine how good Stadia could be. But it's one of those remains to be seen situations. If you're gonna bill yourself as a subscription service, people aren't gonna want to pay full price for new games. But you know, if that's your only avenue for playing these games, I could see it eventually catching on. I always get you know, I always get a little miffed when I hear companies that just, like, you go into google.com and it'll say, like, see the future of gaming, and, you know, I always get a little like sure, we'll see. But you know, it's true, we'll see. Like, who knows what's going to happen, how much the tech is going to happen, and how much people, like, maybe 5 years from now, people will be like, can you believe people used to spend over $1,000 for a gaming computer?
That's the thing. Like, for me, it's like, oh, like, the next time I want to build a desktop, I might not have to. Like, that part of it is a little crazy to me. To think that could be a possibility. I do think the new games, like, can I buy those new games on Steam? You know what I mean? Like, that I would be cool with. You know, if you could do something like that.
If there was some sort of, like, okay, like, I'm trying out Stadia, and I don't really like it anymore. Can I get that game I bought, like, and still play it on my actual console?
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen.
No. It's gonna be like Google only.
So yeah,
probably,
the proprietary issues.
That, I think, is a little bit of an issue, because, like, why would I buy a new game on Stadia if I already have Steam, or if I already have Xbox, or if I already have, you know, what have you. We'll see. It should be interesting. I'm also just worried about what happens when ISPs realize that people are, like, slamming data over their networks. I know other places have data caps. I think we're pretty lucky in New York, where we usually don't have data caps, but, like, I imagine you're using a tremendous amount of bandwidth for something like this. So once ISPs figure
how much
that
more
out,
different do you think it is versus, like, streaming a movie or streaming TV.
I don't know, honestly.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, who knows? I
So
imagine
and
it's
and
bigger,
we're
but I
doing
don't
that
know.
now, and like
Right.
people are cutting the cord and getting like Hulu, Netflix, and they're living a streaming life.
Oh, that is true. It's probably not that much more than something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But just because of the sending the player inputs, it might be bigger. We'll see. Who knows? I'm tentatively excited for it. It would be so cool if it had some sort of Steam thing where it was like, if you buy it on Steam, you get it on Stadia. Like I would buy the Founders Edition right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but for something like that to work, both Google and
What if it were on the Epic Store though?
Oh, don't do that to me, Tim. I've been avoiding the Epic Store so
Epic
bad.
is probably more open to making deals with Google than Valve is. Valve doesn't want to make deals at all.
That's true, actually. Well, Epic would try to be like, "Oh, can you only do us?" And Google would be like, "No, we have the money." Like,
Yeah.
you forget those servers you're running on; those are ours.
Google's like they're waving their hand and like your engine does not work here.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing where this could take off, but it's going to be a slow and painful start, a la
Listen,
Steam,
All
for instance.
all disruptionary, like all kind of technologies that cause disruption in the market are never adopted like immediately. There's always a bit of skepticism, and it takes time for these things to become the norm. Netflix, when they started doing streaming, also it was like people like, oh, I don't know if this DVD by mail thing's gonna work. And then when they got rid of that, they're like, oh, I don't know if this streaming TV, streaming movies to my TV is gonna work. And now it's like what people do left and right.
Yeah, I actually have, if there's any Google employees listening, what you do is you make a really sick MMO, like World of Warcraft or something like that. Spend 10 years doing it, make it a Stadia exclusive where you can't leak any issues because there's no, files stored on people's computers, and therefore there's no data mining. And I'd be in. Everyone would be in. I think you could win.
But they would have to develop the game. It can't be like what Epic's trying to do because that would
Hey,
be
I think
they hired Jane Raymond. She's
Yeah,
she's going to be
Assassin's
heading up
Creed fame.
Google's video game studios.
So you never know. Because that to me is the cool aspect of the not having it stored on your computer, is like data mining doesn't exist. So you couldn't look up where Mankirk's wife is unless you ask people. So World of Warcraft reference for you.
Well,
should we move on? Sorry.
that's the end of my playthrough. I can never find.
Well, no, last thing I just want to say on that. So you Garrett, you already said you're probably going to get into this Founders Edition thing just because you're a fanatic and enthusiast. What about you, Tim? You think you're going to get in on this $130 Founders bundle?
No, but I'm curious to see how it plays out. Like I'm not going to be ultra cynic here and be like, this stands no chance. But it's like I said, for now, it's not for me.
I mean, I think my buddy Chris pre-ordered it, so maybe he'll give me the 3 months. In which case, I don't have.
Yeah, but you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to lock in your handle. That's one of the other things the Founders Edition has.
I really am. I bought the Steam controller like day one, and it was cool, I guess, but it's not. It wasn't worth it.
And even best. I forgot. This is the main selling point, you guys. I forgot to mention this. It's not in the show notes. The controller comes in 3 colors. You get like clearly white.
What?
I think the names are like
it's called clearly white.
I think it's like clearly white or just white, something ridiculous, and it's like midnight black or just black. You guys listeners, you can fact check me. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I think it's along these lines. And then there's also like wasabi green.
Okay, at least they didn't pick another racial possible.
So you have black, white, and green.
Like clearly white, I was thinking of like a dude in a polo at a frat party. Like, oh, that dude's clearly
why
white.
Would you get anything else? Clearly white.
Hold on, let me just double check that. Stadia controller colors.
Clearly white. I don't know why I find that. So
yeah,
funny.
That's what it is. 3 of the 4, just black, clearly white, and wasabi.
I mean, I'd probably go wasabi with it.
And then the 4th color is night blue, but that's a limited edition, and that's only exclusive to the Founders Edition.
Well,
so
gotta get it now. I need that night blue. So
you get that night blue. So those are the 4 colors. That's your selling point. Okay. Next news topic. So we had a Pokemon Direct that dropped on June 5th, which is about a week ago from today?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. We got a release date. Main thing, we got a release date. Pokemon Sword and Shield is dropping worldwide, November 15th, 2019. So it's coming. They showed a whole bunch of stuff on this direct. I think it was like a 15-minute long direct where they showed us a bunch of cool gameplay. It was actual gameplay footage, not just like CGI images like when they first announced the game. We saw a little bit more of the Gala region, which was really cool. It's this region that it looks like it's inspired by the UK. We saw what the towns look like, Pokemon and humans living together in harmony. They're not just our pets anymore. They're not just our fighters anymore. We don't just put them in death matches. We work and live together with them in the Gala region. A couple of other things they showed: the battle system, mainly how you get into battles, similar to Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, where you can see the Pokemon walking around, and that's how you initiate battles. But then there's also going to be sort of a throwback to the old school Pokemon random element, where when you're walking in the grass, you'll see an exclamation point that you can interact with, and that's how you get into battles that way also. What else did they show? The new feature, which...
Ooh, told you so.
They showed us a new feature. And now, let me just disclaimer, I've only played Gen 1 Pokemon.
Okay.
Gen 7, which was Sun and Moon, and this is going to be my third gen. So I've not seen what the progression was between Gens 2 and 6. But from my understanding, it's always been sort of like this just incremental little thing where they kind of take like 3 steps forward and kind of 2 steps back. So they're always making progress. Like if you're looking at the numbers mathematically, that's still progress, but it's not like leaps and bounds. This to me, having played Gen 7 and Sun and Moon, this to me is sort of one of those where, yeah, it's a new element, but it's not like, oh shit, I have to have that. That's such a cool new thing.
It's
the
dumb.
New battle feature
you can say
is called
Berto, it's dumb. They do this every one.
The new feature is called Dynamax. So you can Dynamax your Pokemon, and basically what it does, it makes them really, really big, and their moves really, really hurt when they get used. That's about it.
Wow, it's almost like Z Evolution or X Evolution or the dance moves or
no,
every other
different.
game.
It's different because it's not just an extra evolution. It's a big Pokemon.
He's big. So Jigglypuff's gigantic. But
he's
it's
like
the
a
same
Jigglypuff
thing. Oh God, they don't innovate. I hate them. I hate them so much.
And you can wait, but it's strategic, Garrett.
Oh,
you can only use it once per match, so you have to use it intelligently.
Just like the last two.
You can only use it once.
You can only use it once per match, like the last 2 things. Oh.
You got to be smart about when you use it, guys. You got to you got to use it smart.
If you use it at the wrong time, you might have to rely on one of your other 2 things that you can do once per match.
Yeah. Can I jump in? There was another thing they showed off. There's a specific area in the Galar region where it's full camera control, right? So like full 3D environment. Like, why didn't they just make the game that? Like, why is that only in one area? This is classic Game Freak Pokemon. Yeah. Whoever's developing it, it's like, ooh, should we like make a new thing? Nah. Like, let's just like
let's tease them a little bit.
Yeah,
and let's not go too overboard.
Like, let's save that for 40 games from now. The real reason I'm upset is because I'm still gonna buy this stupid game. I know.
I'm absolutely gonna buy this stupid game, and I'm gonna play it, and I'm going to tell myself, "You're an idiot for buying this game. You realize that?" And then I'm gonna say, "Yes, I know, but I want it."
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so answer for me. I didn't see it. Is there any mechanic involving throwing the Pokeballs like in Pokemon Go and Pokemon Let's Go?
They didn't say when I was watching the direct. They didn't specifically mention that, but I would imagine that if you have Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee with a little Pokeball apparatus, there probably is going to be some interaction with that.
I don't believe
that's a full deal breaker for me right there.
That is, I think I know what you're asking, Tim, and I don't believe the catch system is like Pokemon Go Eevee or whatever. I know there's
about specifically the catch system.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you throw the ball and like you have to time it.
There's a new app that you can store and trade Pokemon from all those games.
Okay.
Also, you can sleep.
We didn't even talk. Oh yeah, I mean we can talk about that real quick if you want. That was part of a different direct where they announced a whole bunch of. Oh, we'll take a little side tangent. And outside of the Pokemon direct, there was also a Pokemon Company direct or it was another direct where outside of just Pokemon Sword and Shield, they talked about just the Pokemon company in general, and they announced a whole bunch of crazy shit. Like, well, the app that you mentioned, that's actually kind of cool, where they did the Pokemon, whatever it's called, the Pokemon
I think
box
it's like a
thing
sleep
from like
tracker.
X and Y.
Oh, that one. Sorry. Yeah.
And this is basically that, but for every Pokemon game. So you could bring Pokemon from your previous games, from your DS games. You could bring Pokemon from Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. You can get your Pokemon from Pokemon Go on your phone and bring them into Sword and Shield. So that's really cool. That's kind of like the Pokemon box idea, but like for everything. The other batshit crazy idea that I was like, what the fuck is Pokemon Sleep?
Yeah.
You guys want to play a game while you're sleeping? Because this app will do that. It'll make sleep a game somehow.
I don't know. They did this. They did the Pokemon like pedometer with one of the games, and it's like cool. You know, I don't know. It's like if it helps people sleep, sure. It just seems.
But I mean, like,
silly.
When I read that and when I heard that, because I didn't watch that direct either, I was like, but what? How do you make it? If you sleep 8 hours, you get experience. Like, how does this work?
I don't know. I thought the idea was that it like tracks sleep, but I don't really know.
I mean, it definitely tracks sleep, but it also gamifies it somehow. So I'm at a loss. I'm trying to figure this out, and also I'm trying to think. Since I get so little sleep, will I be a bad player at this game?
Yeah, you're gonna have like a level 2
Snorlax. Oh God, I'm gonna have like a shuckle. Good old shuckle.
The spectrum. What about people who are already sleeping too much and this like pushes them over to just full depression?
Just destroys them because they're too.
I know there have been times in my life where a game that rewards you for sleeping more would probably have made my life worse.
It's like Pokemon. Hey, maybe you should get up and do something.
It's funny because Pokemon Go is like go outside, like meet people. It was like, oh, that was like kind of cool. And now it's like just fucking sleep in all the time.
Pokemon just stay in and sleep.
Like, what are you doing?
You're giving me mixed messages.
And there's also some Poke nerd just like with crazy anxiety trying to sleep and being like, oh, like I need to level my sleep.
But he's training. But what if I need to catch a Pikachu?
It's like your mom's like, yeah, hey, why are you sleeping 12 hours a day? I'm catching Pokemon, Mom. Leave me alone.
Shut up, Mom. I'm trying to be the very best.
Trying to be the very best. Wake up, you gotta go to school. No, I'm a Pokemon trader.
Which is funny because Ash slept in the first episode. So
that he did. That's why he got Pikachu. He
slept right through his Pidgey alarm. There was another app they announced that was, I think it's like more traditional battling, but I don't know.
I don't know. That direct was just a whole bunch of crazy shit. Those shirts did look cool. I want one of those shirts.
They just know that everyone's gonna buy it. No one cares. It's like I'm still gonna buy this stupid game. Like they don't have to do anything. They could just be like, "Here's Pokemon Yellow again." Like there you go.
So easy. I talk a lot of shit about Pokemon sometimes, and even I know that depending on the mood I'm in when the game comes out, there's a chance I'll get it.
Yeah, like if I'm not playing something, like Grookey looks cute, I'll get it. Like why not?
I still stand by the fact that those starters are all uninspired,
dude.
But I'm still buying it.
Yeah. So yeah, enough Pokemon.
Well, no, one more thing.
Oh,
Sword Dog or Shield Dog? Where do you guys stand?
Well, Sword Dog was just Sif from Dark Souls, which I found interesting. So I'd probably go Shield Dog just because. Well, I don't know. Why are they both dogs? Shouldn't there be a cat? Shouldn't it be Shield Cat and Sword Dog or something?
It should be, but I don't know. I'm coming up to the defense of Shield Dog because everyone was giving Shield Dog so much shit on Twitter. They're like, the only right answer is the dog with the sword. I'm like,
oh really? I would have thought people, because the dog with the sword, like I get it. Like for Sif from Dark Souls, it was cool. Yeah. Like it's just a dog with a sword in its mouth for Pokemon. Like,
yeah, it
didn't seem that creative.
I mean, talk about uninspired. Whoa,
Tim is presenting.
Oh, guys, you can't see this, and
they sort of can.
Like
it screwed up the overlay.
Sorry, guys.
It needed to. Oh, now it's all even screwed up even more.
Oh, my bad. What have I done?
I'll fix this. Yep, I got the overlays all set up. I fixed up every picture. Everyone looks great.
Yeah, way to go, Tim. You screwed it up
Yeah.
with that silly picture. That
But
picture was adorable.
that picture was worthwhile. You guys couldn't see it on the stream, but it was a picture of a dog in a suit of armor with a sword and shield. It was great.
Yeah, why choose when you can have both?
Because it's the Pokemon company, and you know how they do things. It makes no sense.
Yeah, they just don't innovate. Do you want to read about the leaks though, Berto? You put this up, so
Yeah, I just threw this on there because it feels like it like Garrett was saying, it's E3. E3 is going on right now. The last of the press conferences is going to happen today. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, the last of the press conference, this should have already happened. It's going to be the Nintendo press conference. I'm pretty sure they're closing out the show with the direct. Sorry, not closing out the show, but closing out the schedule of press conferences. In which case, E3 proper starts tomorrow because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we're in the middle of E3, and I feel like it's clockwork every single year. Where just before E3, you get the leaks coming out, and it's like, I get it. People are hungry for news, and they're digging into like news sites, and they're scrubbing data to find anything and everything about the video game news before E3. But at this point, it's like, why not just wait a couple of days? Part of E3, the spectacle of E3, is like the announcements and waiting for the announcements. And yeah, maybe some years are a little bit more lackluster than others, but still, like that anticipation is part of the reason that makes E3 so, like, it makes it so cool. Ninja Theory's game Bleeding Edge. It was a very poor quality video that leaked and showed the game before E3, which was premiered at the Xbox press conference. The Destiny expansion, we heard about that, before E3. What else was leaked? Watchdog was leaked before E3. We had, I feel like there was something else that leaked before E3.
I mean, there was if you count rumors and stuff, I know Elden Ring, it was called Great Rune.
Yeah, there's that.
Time,
I was about to say, there's the George R. R. Martin thing.
Yeah. Which isn't exactly a leak. That's more of a rumor, if you will.
Yeah,
but I kind of think there's like two different things at work here. One is just the way news is disseminated nowadays on the internet. Obviously, someone somewhere's getting clicks and making money by being the first to break a story. So I think leaks are just naturally more and more as time goes on, just because the way we consume news on the internet. But I also kind of think that E3 is, and it's been slowly dying for a long time now. But I think it's really starting to unravel now. I mean, you got PlayStation pulling out. Nintendo just does videos nowadays. We won't go into detail about E3 because we're going to do a separate podcast on that, which we'll probably be releasing the day after you listen to this. But, it seems like every year the conference gets less and less exciting, at least for me personally. And I think it's just because of this kind of thing. Like, it's more about getting information out as soon as possible than building up this anticipation and stuff. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but a lot of times I find myself not really that excited for E3 anymore because it's like, well, I've heard half the stuff already and half of it's from the year before. Which, spoiler alert, like Microsoft this year was very similar to last year's with the game announcements and stuff. So I kind of think it's just the way that video game news is handled nowadays. You used to get Nintendo Power or Game Informer magazine once a month, and that was like how you got your news. So other than that, you got Twitch, you got everything up to date now. You got Nintendo does directs, PlayStation does videos now. Like, I think it's more about getting the news out as soon as possible, which I think is an issue because you end up with games like Final Fantasy VII that get announced, 12 years ago or whatever.
It was supposed to be a PlayStation 3 game.
Yeah, like it never comes out because of this. So I kind of miss it a little bit, but I kind of think it's just the sign of the times. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from that angle, that it is a sign of the times. And yeah, like a lot of people have been sort of ringing the death bell for E3 for some time now. It definitely is going to be changing in the future. I don't see the current sort of model, or the current iteration of E3, whatever you want to call it, the way it is now is definitely not going to be the way it's going to be in the future, because like you mentioned, Nintendo already does their Nintendo Directs. They don't have like a traditional press conference. for this year's E3. Sony sort of pulled out of E3 this year. And again, we'll touch on that in our E3 show. But I feel like there was a number of reasons why. I don't think they pulled out because E3 is sort of like a dying, an old relic. But I think there were other reasons for Sony pulling out. But there's, at least for me, I still think that E3 is still like this reason to get hyped for the video game industry. So it really, like, I get upset when you see these leaks come out, because not only does it take away from the hype, but also you got to think about the teams that work tirelessly up until E3, because they know this is sort of like when all eyes are on the industry. And for like a trailer or a vertical slice or a demo that they put together to be leaked before, the press conference that they're scheduled to go, it's kind of just like, not just a slap in the face, but it's just a huge sign of like a huge disrespect to the teams that are putting these things together.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of stinks nowadays. Like, even, I know the Game of Thrones stuff got leaked. That was a big thing recently where, the Game of Thrones episodes were leaked ahead of time and stuff. And I don't know, it's, I think consumers actually want it. And that's kind of why it happens. Because, it seems like people like leaks. They always watch them and stuff. It gets clicks. So I actually think E3 will kind of transition into more of a, and it's been doing it, but like I think this kind of Twitch stuff is really where E3's heading, with this kind of semi-interactive presentation stuff. Things like BlizzCon have been doing that, where you get the virtual ticket and you can chime in. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I do miss the silly stuff. I mean, I did see another Just Dance presentation today.
Hey, those are always
which
great.
Is, again, always appreciated. Also, they're releasing that for the Nintendo Wii, which is...
Wait, was that the announcement? I didn't see, like, I saw the people
It's
dancing.
on other games as well, but the Nintendo Wii is an included
That's
system.
awesome.
Wow.
I don't think that's
Nintendo
a typo.
Wii is still alive and kicking, y'all.
And those old folks' homes that still have Wii's, they need their dance.
They need their
gotta
Just
do their
Dance.
Rasputin dance. But yes, enough about E3. Sorry, we will be talking a ton about E3.
Yeah, we will.
We're going to record tomorrow night and push that out probably the same night, hopefully. Maybe the next day. But we're not going to go into it because that's going to be essentially its own podcast. So
yeah, so we'll do an E3 specific episode. So we touched lightly on it now, just as a matter of discussion, just a matter of fact. But we'll go into our E3 takes for tomorrow,
because there still is basically Square Enix is, I believe, probably just finished up. They were presenting tonight, and I know Nintendo's got a direct tomorrow. So we'll have all the news for that one. So just to steamroll right ahead, should we move to our segment 3? This is going to be a curveball.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's go. I've been waiting for this segment.
I prepped a lot for this segment.
Oh, God, I feel sorry for you.
No. It was all good stuff. I appreciate them. So segment 3, we actually kind of got inspired because me and Berto saw Detective Pikachu recently, which made some headlines. Segment 3 is going to be video game movies. This podcast, which woof or no, because there's not any good ones out there according to Rotten Tomatoes, but we'll see. I did here, if anyone in chat is interested, I can copy this and paste it. There's a whole list on Wikipedia. If you just Google list of films based on video games, you pretty much have a giant list with all the Rotten Tomato scores and amount of money made. And we also agreed, I believe we each watched at least one video game movie. So just to start and kick off the conversation, what movie or movies did you pick? We'll go with Tim first, because I'm interested in which ones you picked.
I rewatched Silent Hill.
Ooh.
Which I'd already seen it, so I guess it's kind of cheating. But
that says it all.
I mean, it's not that bad. That's really what it comes down to. I don't want to get too into it without jumping ahead, but just like, if you're a fan of the Silent Hill games, it's like kind of made to be taken by a really good filmmaker and just broken down and made into an amazing movie. And you can tell they took some ideas and they tried to, they got the vibe of it a little bit, but it was just too like, okay, we're gonna take our liberties and just make it into a Hollywood movie. For those who aren't familiar with the Silent Hill games, they're very psychological horror movie or psychological horror games that that really put the emphasis on the main character and what's the person, the kind of person that they are, and it really drills into their strengths and weaknesses as a person. You learn more about the character as the plots progress, and it's just so it's written on the level that any really intense, deep psychological horror movie is made, and you could tell they tried to do that, and they're successful in some areas, but they fell prey to just the same thing that happens with every video game based horror movie, where they just they lose the script a little bit, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna put Pyramid Head in here for no reason. We're gonna
yeah, but when he rips that lady's skin off, though,
I guess, but it doesn't really make sense. The strength of Silent Hill is that you can sit there and break it down for hours and hours and hours and find all the symbolism in it. It can be a little pretentious in that aspect, but that's what we like about it. And Silent Hill, the movie, it gets that across, and then just tries to make it as as interpretable for anyone to watch it once and just be like, okay, I caught all this symbolism. Like the biggest example I like to say is in the first Silent Hill game, it most of the time when you're outside it's snowing, and what they did is they put that into the movie, but they instead had the main character, she feels, and she's like, this isn't snow, it's ash.
Oh.
Oh, from the burning town, it's cool that they tried to make it like something else, but it's like so on the nose, there's no subtlety there whatsoever.
That was like
when in reality the snow is put there to make it for graphical limitation.
That's like in Star Wars: The Last Jedi when they're on the salt planet and the guy like takes his finger and is like, it's salt. It's like, oh, okay, like
it's like, oh, okay. Did you need? I guess we wouldn't have figured it out until
I guess the audience couldn't have possibly figured that out any other way.
Like the movie had really cool elements to it, I will admit, but it should have been one of those movies where you watch it and then you're thinking about it for the next few days, where you're just like, oh wow, like wonder what that meant, like wonder what this, and then you'd want to watch it again and again and try and catch all the things you missed. But it's not. It gets the vibe of what goes on in the first movie or the first game, and adds in some elements from the second game, and even I guess some from the third, and makes it into a very watchable movie. And honestly, for a video game movie, it's one of the best.
I was gonna drop that. I actually kind of like that one a lot.
I just think that if you're gonna make a Silent Hill movie, you should try and give the audience as much credit as the developers were giving the audience of the games, and let them stumble around in the dark a little bit. But overall, on like the scale of video game based movies, it's pretty good.
All right, and we will get a little more deeper into the underlying stuff there. But Berto, what movie or movies did you choose?
So I'm looking at this list, and first of all, they're making an untitled Mega Man movie.
What?
Sign me up, and it's not an animated; it's a live action film. Sign me the fuck up. I will watch the shit out of that.
Untitled Mega Man movie. What the hell?
I am all for that. Sign me the fuck up.
I can't believe you're excited for that. Are you kidding me? They're going to screw that up so bad.
I don't care. I will watch that movie 3 times over. Fuck Sonic the Hedgehog. Give me Mega Man.
If they did it right. And hold on. We'll talk about that later because that's going to be one of my follow-up questions.
Okay.
How to do it right.
I mean,
but
after having looked at this list, I was like, what video game movies have I seen? I've actually seen a surprising number of these movies.
I have too.
Dude, I've seen nearly all of them.
More than I remembered.
I've seen like 90% of
I've
this.
forgotten the fact that I've seen these movies because they're so bad. You want to talk about bad movies? Let's talk about Double Dragon.
Yeah.
let's get to the bad movies in a little bit because that's an endless topic. But what movie did you see, Berto?
I mean, recently. I'm trying to think what I see recently because I saw a couple of movies. I think I might have caught a little bit of Tomb Raider the other day, and I'm like, oh, this is a video game movie. Tomb Raider. That's not the Cradle of Life.
New Tomb Raider?
No, Cradle of Life is the
second one, I believe.
Yeah, that's the second Angelina Jolie one.
Okay, and then Lara Croft Tomb Raider is the first one, right? Because
Yes.
okay. So that's
What's
the one
the
I
new one
watched
called?
because
Just Tomb Raider?
I'm like, I know that there's the new one, and I forget if Tomb Raider is the new one and Lara Croft Tomb Raider is Angelina Jolie. But yes, I was watching the Angelina Jolie one recently. John Voight, who's her real life dad, plays her dad in the movie.
People forget. What'd you think of that movie? I think that movie's okay. Am I wrong? Like,
I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to see it, but if I'm flipping through the channels and it's on, I'll be like, yeah, I'll keep it on.
That kind of sums up video games, and or video game movies. Pardon me. And it's kind of funny because it's interesting to see us because we don't review movies.
No.
So we're
I am not
cynical about
qualified
video
to review
games,
movies.
but I'm actually quite optimistic about movies generally.
It's a good cast too. Ian Glenn, Daniel Craig's in this.
Dude,
James
they had
Bond
talent.
is in this.
They had
That's right,
talent.
I forgot about this.
So I kind of ran with this thing. I have a ton of video game movies at home. I've watched almost like all of these, which might be an issue. I actually watched, since we decided to do this as an episode, I watched Mortal Kombat, I watched Street Fighter, I watched Doom twice in a row because that's a weird thing that I have.
Why would you do that?
I didn't tell you guys that story. I thought I told you about that story.
That you watched it twice?
The first time I watched the Doom movie, I was with my brother. We watched it, and he basically turned to me and was like, "Dude, should we watch it again?" And I said yes. So I don't know why.
I don't think that he was expecting that answer. I think he was more.
He was. Trust me.
He was more in disbelief,
and he probably was expecting that
Yeah.
answer.
So there have been 4 separate times in my life where I've watched the Doom movie, and I basically double up every time. It's just tradition. It's really dumb. Maybe a good movie. Who knows? So yeah, Mortal Kombat, Doom movie. I did see Detective Pikachu recently, so I'll count that, I guess. I watched the first Resident Evil movie.
good.
Out of 7, I believe. I watched.
That's right.
I think it's called Alone in the Dark. It's the Yui Bowl movie. Yes,
That's a whole topic in its own.
Alone
Oh
in
my
the
God.
Dark, which I have watched previously. And I watched one more. What else did I watch? I watched something else that I can't remember. I was gonna watch the Dungeon Siege movie, but I didn't end up doing
I'm
that.
curious about that. I mean,
Yeah. Super Mario Bros. Was the other one I watched.
Woof.
Sorry. What are you curious about Dungeon Siege, Tim?
as well, right? The Dungeon Siege movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that. I mean, it can't be good, but
It's not.
there was a Dungeon Siege movie. Like that game wasn't even that popular when that movie came out.
But that's
Jason
Yui
Statham is in
Bowl.
this. He must have really needed a
Ray
paycheck.
Liotta is in it.
Oh my God,
Dude, it has a good
Burt
cast.
Reynolds.
Yui Bowl, in a nutshell, is like he makes the movies he wants to make just really poorly. Because he made Blood Rain, if I'm not mistaken, which
Oh,
has Ben
God.
Kingsley in it, who is Gandhi. I don't know if people. He has like a
He's
couple
an Academy
Oscars.
Award winner.
Yeah, Blood Rain. Blood Rain 2, which has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. Ooh, I should have been telling the score. I guess we could get to that in a bit. Alone in the Dark has a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. Just for everyone out there. Which
I mean,
beats Surf
I always
Ninjas.
have a thing against Rotten Tomatoes because they gave Detective Pikachu a 66, and that was an awesome movie. That was like that was like a 75 movie.
But I'm gonna pick one of these movies. I'm gonna pick Resident Evil for like a quick little review. I actually think, kind of like Tim, it's a pretty good video game movie. It hits a lot of notes. It's somewhat faithful to the original, and like you do have the original mansion thing. It kind of skips through the mansion real quick, which I get. And it kind of goes for more action than anything else. I think the casting was okay, considering there wasn't really any big stars in it.
What are you talking about? Mila Jovovich.
She that's the director's wife. That doesn't count. He just puts her in
But
everything.
she's still a big star.
Is she?
I
Fifth
think- No,
Element.
she's
and-
Lily Dallas.
I honestly think that like she's known for that now. That's like
Yeah,
her
she's
fault.
in the Monster Hunter movie that he's directing. They're coming out with the Monster Hunter movie, just so you know. It's I don't know. It's an enjoyable movie. I think it does okay with satisfying fans of Resident Evil in that it drops some of the monsters. It has, the underground laboratory. It does have the mansion, sort of. You get the dogs in there.
You got the liquors.
And then I think it also just misses a lot of points because it's not really horror at all.
No.
It turns into action very quick. there's a weird, laser grid, which I
That
did
part
appreciate.
was awesome.
Coolest scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Has
You have,
nothing
like, the-
to do with Resident Evil.
You
Yeah.
have the dude who like jumps up and he's like, "Watch what I can do," and like holds himself completely like horizontal, and then he tries to like escape it again, and the
Yeah.
grid just like slices him.
That's like the team leader. The other guy in that movie is the cool, in The Mummy. He's like one of the ancient warriors in The Mummy. I just figured I should drop that on everybody. But to sum up that movie, basically, it's an okay watch. It's fun. It's goofy. I don't think it quite did it right. I don't think it exactly did it 100% wrong. But that's going to kind of go into my leading question. Like, what do you guys think is the issue with video game movies? Why can't they do it right? And I'm not talking because we should do a little distinction here. There are movies like, and I think somewhat universally agreed by critics, Wreck-It Ralph is about video games.
Not a video game movie.
Pretty well
I agree,
received
no.
movie.
It's a movie themed around the idea of video games as a vehicle, but it's not a video game movie.
Yes,
Based on a video game.
Yeah, it's not literally an adaptation of a video game. I could name others. I guess Tron could kind of fall in there.
Tron definitely falls into that.
Ready Player One even.
Ready Player One could be one of those, which are decently received movies. Are they Oscar winners? No, but they do pretty well. But what do you guys think is the issue? Why has there not been a single good video game movie? Berto's about to say Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu, man.
I don't think that's a. I don't know if
That's
I can.
borderline a video game movie. That's borderline not one.
I think
right?
yeah. I think
it's not based
half
on a
and
game.
half.
It's based on like the characters from a game, and that's like I don't. I think that's kind of like a distinction. We can accept that it is a video game movie for the purpose of this, but it's not.
I think it's barely a video game movie because I think the
Technically,
Pokemon.
right is the best right to be.
That's fair. I think the Pokemon franchise somewhat transcended the video games in certain aspects. Because do you count the anime movies as a video game movie, Berto?
I would say that's more of a video game movie.
Oh, you would? Because that to me is an anime. Because that's based on the show. It's not really based on the game. It's based on the show based on the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so for leave it in or don't. What do you think is the issue here? Why can't there be good video games?
I think the main reason, and it's what we talked about in both like Resident Evil, Silent Hill. It's they're stuck between two worlds, right? They're trying to bring the fans from one area into the seats of another area, and they're trying to translate the medium, and they're trying to get more people who don't play the games into the seats as well. So they're just stuck between these two worlds, and they're trying to please both people, and they're never going to. It would be interesting. There are games like Warcraft, for example, where it's like the games have gotten so big that they can. I think they should be able to just be like, okay, we're gonna make this for the fans of the game and be as faithful as possible. I didn't see Warcraft, but
yeah, I will give you some.
I still have an opinion on it.
Quick stats. It does have a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is currently #1 video game movie worldwide box office with $433 million.
That means a lot of nerds have a lot of disposable income to watch.
Also, China loved it. I know China loved it.
China loved it.
But go on, Tim. Sorry.
But yeah, no, I think that's just the main issue. Like they're trying to. This happens in. If you exclude movies from the picture, it happens in games where they try to bring a game to a wider audience, right? And then they end up not letting both sides down. And I think there's too many butting heads going on in the development process, and it's just never going to satisfy. I mean, look at the first one on this list. The very first video game based movie is Super Mario Bros. We all know how that turned out, right?
That was a shit show.
I think that just laid the framework. To contrast to that point, Garrett, we've talked about this a billion times, how the best video game based movie is Mortal Kombat, hands down. And
I agree. That was a question for later, but yes, I agree.
Sorry to break your question. But the reason why it worked is it didn't really try to be anything more than the games. Like, yes, it made some more of wider appeal with some of the hamminess of it. There's it wasn't just they didn't just take the source material and just sit in there, but they were extremely respectful of it.
I actually, what's funny is I read a bunch of reviews specifically on Mortal Kombat because I do think it is the best video game movie, and I can argue that later a little bit. But actually, a lot of the reviews were like, "Why was it PG-13?" And I never thought like, "Oh, that's
because
like a weird."
because there's probably not enough curses to warrant an R.
Well,
yeah,
in the process of making the movie,
but the
why did they
fact that
decide to make it PG?
the fact
Actually,
that
wait,
critics thought
wasn't
it
this-
needed more gore was weird to me. That's basically what they were saying. Like, oh, the original game had gore, so you should add more gore. Did you have more to say as far as like you think it's a pretty faithful adaptation? Basically,
I do. I think it gets it gives you all the characters that you care about, right? It goes into their backstories just enough. It's obviously not Shakespeare. It's Mortal Kombat characters, but it gets you, exactly what you want out of that, and then it just has a tournament, and all the characters act in the way you would expect them to. It doesn't try to be anything more than the sum of its parts, and it does have a bit of Hollywood in it, but it has to. So for that, it's not, obviously Mortal Kombat is an easier subject matter to approach than Silent Hill or something like that.
so I have a quick counterpoint because Mortal Kombat Annihilation is considered one of the worst video game movies of all time, and I would say that movie's pretty faithful to the games.
Yeah, but that one they tried to be a little bit more Hollywood with it. Like with the first Mortal Kombat, it was like, here, you're fighting in a tournament to save Earth. That's your plot.
True.
And now here it's like, oh, Outer Realm is invading, and now you have to fight for Earth Realm. But first, you need to talk to Nightwolf, and we got to shoehorn an animality in there, and you got to learn about animalities.
Dude, when he goes to the desert and trips balls, and then wakes up,
it's like,
Nightwolf's
wait, here's
ain't it
Reptile.
cool?
Here's a thing that jumped
That's
into
my
a dead body,
animality.
and now it's Reptile.
Wait, Reptile in the first one was like that.
Yeah, that was the
And
first one,
I just
but-
want to say
was it the first one?
the
There's-
Reptile fight scene in the first movie is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Don't even
There-
lie.
there's just too many characters.
I love
Those were
the
$500
quotes in chat.
sunglasses, asshole.
God, I could quote that movie so much. I think that's the movie I've seen the most times in my life. That's actually my favorite movie of all time. Like, it's not just video games.
Your brother's soul is mine.
Dude, as much as I am sort of boycotting the new Mortal Kombat game, did you see that they modeled Shang Tsung on that dude?
I saw it, and I'm all for it.
God, they are milking the nostalgia for the movie in that
They
game.
really are. But hey, people are all for it.
I would agree, Tim. I think a lot of what makes the Mortal Kombat movie a strong video game movie is that it's pretty faithful to the games without changing up too much and basically giving the fans what they want. You got some fatalities in there. You got some special moves. I think Tim's frozen, or he's just smiling very creepily. But it kind of hits the right notes. Also, it just copied Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, so that helps too. Berto, what do you think is the issue with why video game movies can't be good? Or
Same reason
haven't been good?
why book to video game or book to movie adaptations generally don't work. It's just two different mediums. They don't work. Video games they're not a passive medium like movies are. Movies you consume passively. You're not an active participant. Yeah, the movies are designed to bring you into the world and get you absorbed into what's going on, but you're not actively participating. Whereas video games, you are actively participating in the storytelling or in the action or whatever type of game it is, because not all games are story driven. And that's one of those bridges that you just can't bridge that gap, which is going to always make it hard to try and adapt something where you're an active participant to something where you're just a passive observer.
And that's actually a really good point. And something I hadn't thought about, but I agree almost 100%. I was thinking about it in a different way. I think a large part of the issue with video games is that the story they choose to tell is often the wrong one. And this is an interesting thing. Anyone listening, go check out, I believe it was on Kotaku, but it might have been linked from Gizmodo or something. I couldn't find it, oddly enough. They had an article about Street Fighter and the movie, and basically it had a crazy troubled development. They brought in Jean-Claude Van Damme right at the last second. He basically ate away at the budget because he was the number one action star of the planet. They were
and all
filming,
the coke he was doing.
Apparently it was 10 grams of coke a day, according to the article. So he was a little bit crazy.
He hit it very well.
Maybe.
I mean, in the movie, at least, they probably edited out all the scenes where he was coke high.
And I like that movie. It's goofy. It's stupid.
It is a super goofy fucking movie.
Yeah, but basically the director had planned like 6 weeks of training to get the guys in fighting shape. That fell through. He planned for a bigger budget. They chose a terrible location to film in, et cetera, et cetera. So same story with the Super Mario Bros. Movie in Console Wars, the book. Basically, Super Mario Bros. Welcome back, Tim. To fill you in, Berto, I'm going to quickly sum up, basically said he thinks that video games are an interactive medium, and that's kind of why they don't work in video games. I'll give you a chance to respond to that in a second. I'm saying the story that they choose to tell is often the wrong one. And I think a lot of it is this kind of pre-production where Hollywood basically takes a script, generates a script, and it's not really doing the movie the right kind of service. For Street Fighter, for example, they did a weird James Bond thing starring Guile. Like that, I think Street Fighter could work as a Mortal Kombat setup where it's like, just do the tournament. Like, why aren't you just doing the tournament? So I think a lot of times they choose the wrong story to tell, and I think certain video games couldn't work. Like I think a Legend of Zelda movie, for instance, wouldn't work because telling Link's story is not the right way to approach that. I think you have to take the larger world and tell a story in it. Maybe I'm a little off with that just because like Mortal Kombat, for instance, is specifically a game where it's just a fighting game. Like they're just kind of telling a story via that, but it's just the tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You fight, you win,
yeah.
Earth survives. You lose, Earth's fucked.
Yeah, but like Assassin's Creed, like that movie, which I, to be honest, didn't see, like telling the story of like a specific assassin or something seems weird to me. Like let the player have that and do its service, but tell a unique story. Because I do think like movie is just not enough time to cram in the story that you want to cram in. Super Mario Bros. That was just Nintendo Mania. I don't think they should have even told that one. And I think that's why movies like Lara Croft kind of work, because they don't take a video game and tell it. They basically take the character, put her in a unique environment, and try to like kick back to the video game. In the newer movie, they do actually kind of rip that story from the video game, I guess. But then again, it goes wrong a lot because you take a story like Doom, which I've seen twice recently. And they made it zombies
willingly
instead of demons. Like that's the biggest, dumbest mess up of all time. Like it's supposed to be demons. Why are you making it zombies?
No, I was just saying I will say this for Doom. If it were remade now, I would probably still go see it because of The Rock. The Rock now has more draw than The Rock then.
It's a lot. It's a good movie. No, it's not. Sorry, it's a fun movie. And The Rock was pretty good at it. And Carl Urban, come on. For a first person segment, come on.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only thing it was missing is
they really just needed to put demons in it. It would be pretty good.
Bioforce gun, come on.
Yeah, that was dumb. But when he picks it up and he goes, "Oh shit!" Like that's a good moment of that movie. So Tim, did you respond to either of those kind of?
I mean, I just fully agree. I think square peg round hole is definitely a major issue when they try to make games into movies. They work as an interactive medium, and when they try to make them into just a narrative experience, it takes away from that. I also fully agree with you, Garrett. Like it seems like they don't approach them from the right angle. It's all these movies are made in a fucking studio with a room full of people in business suits going, I know what the people want. They want this. And then they just bounce ideas off of each other ad nauseum until they crap out something that nobody really wants or cares about. And that's why movies like Detective Pikachu, which I haven't seen and probably won't, are actually decent because they aren't trying to just like fully adapt it. They're trying to do something, unique. And
yeah,
that's why that can work. But yeah, did you guys look at the very bottom of this list? They have.
Oh, I've looked at the bottom of the list.
Depends how you sort by. How are you sorting? By title?
Just the default.
I
guess
sorted
at
by
the
Metacritic.
very bottom. I was looking at like Japanese movies.
Oh, okay.
like I've seen a few of these movies, and I feel like they're a lot more faithful to their source material. One of them that's interesting. This is kind of a side because I just want to talk about it. I've mentioned this game before during our horror segment. There's a game called Sweet Home, and it was actually released concurrently with a movie at the same time and with the same subject material.
Oh.
The movie itself is pretty schlocky horror. It's not memorable, really. The game is amazing. It's very memorable, very unique, and I don't even know, is it even on this list? But regardless, it's cool. If you watch the movie, it's just your standard ghost haunted house sort of thing. The game, and I think it expresses Berto's point really well in that the game makes it feel really interesting and unique, and they put a lot of time into developing like the way the game works and the way the player is supposed to feel, and the movie ends up just being run of the mill, like standard.
Remember that for when Halloween comes up? That should be our game club game.
So down. Another one
that.
that's really interesting that I want to talk about is Ao Oni. I don't know if you guys know anything about Ao Oni, but it's a RPG Maker horror game that came out.
I 100% know about this game.
You know it if
the big
you
purple faced guy.
Big purple face guy.
Yeah.
And it's that to me blows my mind that this even exists. Like it just someone made this RPG Maker horror game, and it basically turned into like an internet meme essentially. Not like in a negative way, just like in like
I mean that's how I know it is from basically the meme.
Then they made it into a movie. I haven't seen the movie, but I've read through like the Wikipedia page, and it's hilarious to me that they can take that.
It seems like Japan took some risks with these movies.
But I would still watch it.
Yeah. There's an Animal Crossing movie.
Their tastes
Berto.
are very different. They have a wide taste.
Animal Crossing movie.
There's an Animal Crossing movie.
How?
And it made a lot of money.
Dude,
well, relatively.
Dope. We should watch some of those movies. That's our issue. We've been watching the wrong movies.
We're watching the wrong video game movies. The good video game movies are all out of Japan.
Yeah.
I've seen Forbidden Siren, which is based off of one of my other favorite horror games, Siren. Takes a lot of liberties. It's not too faithful for the source material, but it's still kind of interesting. And I've seen the Ace Attorney movie, which is a basically 1-to-1 translation. And that's only cool because it's cool how they've made like it's costume design and stuff like that. It's cool how they really went all in.
Yeah,
tried to make it a live action.
I've seen stills from that. It looks pretty well.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've seen the stills and like
movie coming
some
out
images where it's like guilty.
Yeah, dude, this list is amazing. There's a Dragon's Lair movie coming out in 2020. Like, what is happening? So to end things, not exactly end things, but to transition a little bit. I had, and these might these might require some thought. So I kind of want to toss this out in Twitch chat. If you want to chime in, please feel free.
Yes, absolutely.
I had 2 questions for you. Name a movie that you think could be a sick video game, and name a video game that you think could make a sick movie. To kind of fill the void, I'm just going to chime in with the first one because I've actually thought about it. The second one I haven't, to be honest. But I was watching the movie, and it's one of my favorite movies of recent times, Annihilation with Natalie Portman. And I was just thinking about how the environment of the movie, not necessarily the movie itself, because the story would be kind of hard to tell. And I actually read those books, and it gets even crazier. But just that environment is like a sick video game setting, I feel like. Just like basically, a jungle first person or third person, like kind of horror shooter, where the environment's like mutating into different forms and shit's going all crazy. And you get that bear in there. I was watching the movie, and the whole time I was like, this would be such a sick video game. Can you guys think of any movies that could make sick video games?
I can, and I had this idea, and it's so cheesy and like in retrospect.
Lay it on me.
But I think if they got an amazing developer to make a multiplayer Inception game, it would be really cool.
Yo,
whoa!
I've talked about this before, but if you could find some way to split it up so that there are different layers of these dreams, and you had people doing things that would affect other layers of the dream, and like I always put into the
Holy
situation I had
shit,
in
your
the movie.
answer's better than
You
mine.
have one person who's driving a van, and he's trying to not to crash, and he's getting shot at, and if he bumps, like it layers down into other, and you have everyone's has to go deeper and deeper into the dream to like do their roles and complete whatever objective is. It's not realistic from like a how could I get somebody to make this game,
Yeah.
but I think it would be really sweet if
It's such a clever idea though, because even if you just take that idea and make it, very concept-y, just the idea of multiple people working towards one goal, but what they do affects the other people. That alone sounds pretty dope. I can't think of games that really do that aside from,
And then you have Ken Watanabe who just gets shot.
dude, hey, but he makes it and he remembers to sign the paper. So that was the important thing.
That's
a great
Spoilers.
answer, Tim.
Jeez.
Shit. My answer was just like, oh, there's animals.
There's animals
Yeah.
there.
I've thought about that before.
I feel like we might have talked about that
I
a long
probably
time
have.
ago, maybe. That's a good answer. Berto, you got any?
So this is kind of a, I mean, it's technically a movie, but it was a book first. But Ender's Game. Ender's
but
Game.
what part are we doing?
I've thought if I just want like an Ender's Game battle arena type thing, because in the book they describe it way better than like what it looked like in the movie. But I think that would make for a cool video game also, where they just have like the battle room, and then that just becomes like a multiplayer. Or you can turn it into a battle royale.
If you did like a Persona game where you're like doing the space high school, and then you all like.
It's like you could turn that into just its own standalone game. But I also like the fact that, okay, spoilers for anyone who hasn't read Ender's Game or who hasn't seen the movie, where he becomes like the commander, and then what he thinks is like his final test actually ends up destroying the Formix. That would be like a cool twist at the end of the video game.
And then you could do the sequel where he becomes a guy who does what does he do?
Speaker for the Dead.
Yeah, he just does I want to say soliloquy, but that's wrong. He talks about dead people. And then creates an AI that travels faster than the speed of light. I read all his books and they get real weird real quick.
They do.
I could see them being kind of. I like the idea of like a Persona game
because like you give Ender's Game to like Hideo Kojima.
Oh God! Oh
yeah.
No! Yeah,
you want to talk about getting
weird?
Like we're gonna take this weird to the nth fucking degree. give Kojima the license and have him do some weird Kojima shit where like he tells a really good story, and then at the end you find out he's like, "What? I destroyed the Formix. Why are you naked? Why is there like crazy women dancing around me?"
Also, the American government has been working on. He would get deep into that. So to keep thinking about the other question, which is okay, a video game that you think could make a good movie with the right this and that. Oh man, what was I about to say? I was about to say something.
You want to talk about bad movies now?
Oh, I did want to mention licensed video games just real quick, because there are a lot of video games made after movies essentially, and I think is Spider-Man 2 like the definitive answer of like the good one?
I would say Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
People forget.
Oh, I forgot about it. Yeah, I completely
That was
forgot.
the definitive one for a while, at least from my understanding. It did a good job.
Yeah, that was a really good one actually. I can't think of like. Can you guys think of any others that have been good? They're usually like garbage, right?
Oh, Chronicles of Riddick from Butcher Bay.
Escape from Butcher Bay.
That was good too.
Surprisingly
good. Call.
Good. That game still like looks good nowadays.
Yeah.
Plus Vin Diesel. I mean, who doesn't like that?
I mean, he's all about family.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can't think of any.
First, you gotta find a doctor who's gonna take out your eyeballs. You tell them you want a shine job.
Oh my god!
Which sounds terrible. I don't think it's called a shine job. But when he says it, it sounds. Like,
no, I think it is called a shine job if I remember correctly. I've seen that movie a tremendous amount. I haven't seen the first one that much, and I haven't seen the third one that much. Now we're just quoting
I love it. Now we're just quoting You're the cop.
Yeah. Oh, there was a Need for Speed movie. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay. So quick tangent. before I met my wife, when I was back in my single days, I went out with this girl, and we went to go see the Need for Speed movie, and I never called her again because we went to go see the Need for Speed movie because she wanted to go see.
And it was just like, oh well, that relationship's over.
Like it was one date, and then and also I found out that she was a vegan, so that was another reason why I'm like, this is it, only date, never again.
Deal breaker.
Total deal breaker. First it was a vegan, I'm like, all right, fine, and then she's like, I want to go see Need for Speed. I'm like, this is terrible.
All right, so have you guys thought a little bit? Do you have an answer, you think?
Video game that makes a good movie?
Yes, essentially. And then I'm going to do like free talk afterwards because it's kind of fun to just name video game movies and talk about
video games and just quote Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Because my answer, which you could probably see coming from a mile away, would probably be Bloodborne. But I think you would have to get somebody who did it, like who loved the material and did it the right way. Because
that's the default for all of these, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like you're assuming that it's someone who loves the property and has enough money to do it. Because I think Bloodborne made by just most people would just be, Van Helsing, but with the guy doesn't talk as much. Without what's his name. But I think Bloodborne could make a pretty dope kind of psychological horror action movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I just like those games. What are you guys thinking? You got any answers there?
I was thinking about it just literally came to me like a minute ago while you were talking about Bloodborne, and I think what would make a really cool sci-fi movie, again, optimal scenario, a director who cares about the material, a Metroid movie. Like a really cool, but more like a Metroid Prime. So it's I guess they all sort of feel like desolate and like out in space. So you make it more like a thriller.
The thing is,
like an action movie.
If you took inspiration from Alien, which the game did in the first place,
yeah,
and kind of made like a Ridley Scott Alien, but a little more actiony, I guess that's just Aliens. But Aliens movie into video game. We forget about that one. The Aliens video games are okay.
I mean, Aliens Colonial Marines was kind of shit.
Yeah. But
then again, that was also
Alien,
I think Gearbox made
okay.
that, and they kind of just half-assed it.
Fair. Tim, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna be a cop out and say two things because they're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. First one I thought of, and this is completely to what you were saying, is it would have to be somebody who really loves source material. Would be Killer 7.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's a Suda51 game, and it would have to be super artsy and really, you'd have to have really good cinematography and somebody who can respect that source material, which I think would be really hard to find. But I think you could make a really cool indie film out of that. But on the other end of the spectrum, I think you could do really well if you took kind of a goofy point-and-click adventure game like Maniac Mansion.
That would.
And it's self-contained enough that it's almost like a movie, like you could see it being just like a 70s fucking, not horror, but like off horror. Like campy,
a super campy,
yeah, and I think you could do really well with that if you weren't trying to take yourself super seriously.
Yeah.
Yo, when you mentioned Suda51, I just thought immediately I need to see a Shadows of the Dam movie.
Whoa, that'd kind of be dope, actually. The thing is, again, you just need somebody to really know the source material and do it right. Which this is now the free talk portion because I'm remembering stuff. Here's something I wanted to talk about. Warcraft, the movie. How is it not good? That is a studio that has $1 billion. You have guys, it was basically made by Blizzard. How did that movie end up not good? And as someone who's a Warcraft fan, I was watching the movie and they literally are introducing orcs that are from Warcraft 1. They had so many orcs and they all kind of looked the same. Tim, you haven't seen the movie. Did you see the movie, Berto?
I haven't seen the movie.
Because to me, that movie should have been good. I mean, part of the issue was they had World of Warcraft fans duking it out with, Warcraft.
Well, let's be honest.
fans,
Blizzard have completely lost their minds.
There is also that, which could be an issue. Because I was thinking like a Diablo movie would be interesting. But pretty much any gothic horror RPG I'm into. So any movies you guys want to mention at all? I mean, we've been ignoring the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but I guess we already kind of talked about that technically.
I mean, that also needs to be set on fire.
I did want to mention that the best Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy The Spirits Within.
That's my favorite Final Fantasy game.
I actually really like that movie. I think that movie's underrated. Critics said it was emotionless.
I think your taste in movie is
flat.
shit.
What? Dude.
It's underrated?
Dude, it looked amazing. And
yeah, and so do like a shit ton of other things, but that doesn't make them good.
Dude, at the end when they help Gaia, do stuff, and like one of the main characters dies, I couldn't tell you who it is.
Yeah, that was my favorite Final Fantasy game that it was based off of.
I love Final Fantasy.
That was a
Spirits movie.
It was a strange. They were like, what if we just ignore all the games and just make something stupid?
Why did they put Final Fantasy in the title?
Kingsglaive was good.
Kingsglaive? What's Kingsglaive?
So
is that the D&D
how like
movie?
the problem with 15 is that you needed to have seen a bunch of other movies and like read a bunch of other shit for 15 to make sense.
Got it.
15 Kingsglaive was like a preamble to Final Fantasy 15.
Ooh. Alex and chat.
Alex has that is a
BioShock movie.
Hot take right there. BioShock movie would be awesome.
That could be good, yeah.
That could be good, but I feel like it would get way too into like the what's it thing? Would you kindly?
Would
you kindly and like the music?
Would you kindly beat the
like,
crap
dun,
out
dun,
of this
dun.
bastard?
I thought of like Dead Space would be good, but then I realized that Event Horizon is basically Dead Space.
Oh yeah, which is a movie I enjoy.
Yeah, so that's a good video game.
So that's a good video game
adaptation.
That's a good one.
Retroactively.
Yeah, there you go. You found a good one.
Postal, man, did I watch that movie? I'm just scrolling through all the movies. Monster Hunter can't be good, right? Like no way.
It's so funny. There's this big gap. Like honestly, video games would not have necessarily that much big of a stigma if Uwe Boll didn't just release a billion really just worthless ones.
Yeah, but they're so much fun to watch because they are insanely
Some
bad.
of them aren't even.
Yeah, they are really rough. Alone in the Dark was tough. Like that is just a poorly made movie no matter what.
So this untitled Metal Gear Solid movie, that's never getting made, right? Because that movie's been in discussions for years.
Well, that's like Halo, which I feel like should be an easy movie to make. But there's been a Halo movie / video TV series that has never come out.
No, the Halo TV series was actually kind of cool, but it had nothing to do with like Master Chief. It was about what's his name, like a Captain Lasky or whatever. Like I saw it. That was actually kind of cool.
What is that? The animated one?
No. This is the live action. It was like a live action miniseries. Did they do?
Oh, I didn't even know that. I should have watched that maybe before I talked about it. Sorry.
It was actually really cool, and it goes back to in Halo 4. Is it Halo 4? I think it's Halo 4. The admiral of the ship that you start off on, he's like Admiral Lasky or whatever fucking his name is, and it's about his time at like the academy when he was like a cadet.
Ooh, also the Matrix games were kind of okay. No? Enter the Matrix? No?
I think I might have played one of those.
I didn't play them. Yeah.
Oh, I played the one for GameCube. It was on 2 discs.
And I think I played was there one for like PS2?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was.
Was it Enter the Matrix? I think I might have
played that. So there was Enter the Matrix, and then there was the other Matrix. The one you play as like Ghost and Will Smith's wife, and I think it's Will Smith's wife. I'm not sure what her name is.
Niobe.
Yes. And then the other one you actually play as Neo, and it's like the Path of Neo. I think it's called.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Path of Neo.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was bad. Oh, the Matrix MMO. I forgot about that. I played that for like a week.
Garrett's getting all the. He's like, oh shit. I played so many bad games. All right, best bad video game movie. Go.
Oh, best bad one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough because I kind of like most of the bad ones.
You got to pick one bad one, and that's the one you got to watch for the next like 10 years. Which is it?
Well, can I just name like Mortal Kombat because that's my favorite movie of all time?
But it's not. Can you honestly say with straight face that's a bad movie?
I can't, but Rotten Tomatoes can.
Love it. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Probably.
I love it.
Yeah, Street Fighter, 100% Street Fighter. Street Fighter is incredible.
These are bison dollars.
So
they will be worth 5 British pounds each.
The
That
next
is
Bison
what they will
wannabe.
agree to when I kidnap the Queen of England. Like, who the fuck talks about
When
that?
Zangief is watching the security footage and they drive him in the tank and he's like, quick, change the channel. Like, it's the best thing ever. So yeah, mine would be Street Fighter 100%.
If our boss is the enemy of freedom is peace, why do you work for him? Because he paid me a freaking fortune, you moron. You got paid?
That movie, there is a...
Well, I want Tim's answer. Tim, best bad video game movie you got to watch for the next like 10 years.
I guess I'll go with Wing Commander.
Oh, wow.
I've
Because
seen that.
Matthew Lillard is in it, and I liked his character in Hackers.
Sure.
He was pretty good as Shaggy and Scooby Doo. But
Good reasons.
it's a very forgettable movie. I don't know why I picked it.
All good reasons. I like the thought behind it.
Berto, what's yours?
Oh, Double Dragon, without a doubt.
Double Dragon? Oh, that's fair.
I've seen that movie so many times already. I had like a videotape of it and like wore through because my brother and I watched it all the time. We knew it was terrible, and like I look back on it now, and it was so bad.
Yeah,
So bad. We even
is-
like made the little medallions for us for like a costume one
Well,
year.
that's cool though. At least you got that.
That's awesome.
At least you got that out of the movie because no one else got anything else. Maybe
Yeah, it was,
Final Fantasy.
Bimmy and Jimmy.
I could name Final Fantasy. I could watch that for a while. Even Mortal Kombat Annihilation's pretty great. When Jax
No, it's not. It's so painful.
dude, when the demon comes out of the ground and then they realize they had no budget for CGI, so
Yeah.
Jax just punches it in the butt and it just reverse footages back into the ground. Incredible movie. So okay, finally gonna wrap this up. Thank you
Oh,
everybody
God.
for listening.
Yes, thank you everyone on the
I
line.
agree,
Thank you to everyone
Rudy.
in chat.
Yeah, thank you in chat. It's fun to have chat. This is the first
Yes.
time. So we will continue streaming. We do it every other Tuesday, basically. We got an E3 episode. We're going to do report cards coming out essentially the day after you hear this.
Yep.
So check that out. I guess we'll stream it too. Why not?
Yeah, we might as well stream it. Fuck it.
And
We'll
you
do it
can
live.
catch us. We're Split Screen Cynics, splitscreencynics.com. On Instagram, we're Split Screen Cynics. So take out the double E there. If you want to check out my stuff, I got twitch.tv/Garrett Gets Into. I might stream right after this. I'm playing Days Gone. Berto, where can people check out you?
You
And
can
the rest
check me
of
out
our
at
stuff?
I'll be the one and only. I got my handle right there underneath that awesome picture of me. But you can check me out at I'll be the one and only. All the socials right there. Tim, where can we find you?
Yeah, I usually joke around and just make up some stuff, but I'll plug my CS team. You can find us at play.esea.net/teams/8730607. You can find me at play.esea.net/user/107737. I'm not saying that again,
Nice.
but have a good, have a good time. Enjoy life.
That's Counter-Strike for you. Again, thank you so much for watching. Keep on gaming. Bye.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Although we're still live on Twitch chat. Wow.
No, we're not.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
offline.
Well, I tried to sneak.